Hello, and welcome to the New Yorkers for Parks webinar series, an opportunity for the New Yorkers for Parks staff to share tools, resources, and research with our constituents on your own time. I am Gabriela Capo, the Community Outreach Coordinator, and today I will be leading you all in a webinar that will explain what participatory budgeting is, what it means for New York City, and how local parks and open space advocates such as yourselves can get involved in this awesome process. This webinar will last about 20 minutes. Today, I am joined by my colleague from the development team, Michelle Bellas.
Hello, everyone. My name is Michelle, and I'm the development manager here at New Yorkers for Parks. For those of you who are new to New Yorkers for Parks, we are the citywide independent organization championing quality parks and open spaces for all New Yorkers in all neighborhoods. Here at NY4P, we believe that great parks make a great city, and we've been spreading this message for over 100 years. We're a research and advocacy organization that listens to and works with communities, educates New Yorkers on parks and open space related public policy, analyzes data and writes reports, advocating every day for better parks across the city. We inform, lobby, and influence key decision makers into making the best decisions for our city's open space. So with that little background about NY4P, let's get into the participatory budgeting, or as we'll call it here, PB.
All right, so first we're going to look a little bit at what exactly the participatory budgeting process is, and that little logo on the bottom, PBP, that's what that refers to. Overall, PB is the process of democratic decision making and a type of participatory democracy as it relates to the public budget. It allows ordinary people to decide how to allocate a part of the municipal or public budget. So basically, it's a way for residents such as yourselves to identify, discuss, and prioritize public budget spending projects and give you the power to help make real decisions about how this money is spent. These public spending projects have quite a range and can include projects relating to schools, parks, libraries, public housing, and public spaces. The public votes on these spaces through a process that is not connected to electoral voting.
PB has a long history. It actually started in Brazil in 1989, and since then has spread all over the world, including to 1,500 cities across the US. It began as a way to include people who were traditionally left out of the democratic process, such as youth, the elderly, or people in low-income areas. The process is meant to engage and empower populations that have previously been disenfranchised, and it's been really successful in very many ways, resulting in more equitable public spending, more transparency in government, greater accountability in government, and more public participation. So that's a very brief overlook of PB all over the world, and today we're going to zoom in on PB in New York City specifically.
PB in NYC began in 2011 for a trial cycle for the city's 2011 fiscal year, and it has continued ever since, which is really awesome. As of spring of 2018, it is actually the largest PB process in North America. Also, as of 2018, 27 of the 51 city council districts currently participate in it. It's up to individual council members to choose if they would like to join. If you're unsure if your council member is participating, you can look it up at council.nyc.gov/pb/participate, which is this link we have on the screen here. When you go to this page, you can click this button down here, which says, is my council member participating? And that takes you to this page, which will let you know who exactly is participating. And if you'd want your council member to join, you can be really vocal about this before their next election year.
So when a council member joins PB, they commit to allocating at least $1 million from their $5 million capital funds that they have to projects across all city agencies to PB proposals that have the greatest support in their district. Just a quick side note about discretionary funding. Normally, discretionary funding is divided into two categories, expense and capital. And as of right now in spring 2018, PB funds are generally only capital funds. Capital projects include infrastructure and brick and mortar projects, which would mean renovations, construction, repairs of city-owned property, and certain purchases. Some examples of these would be replacement of outdated playground equipment, a new sidewalk, or an upgraded computer lab for a middle school.
Besides the city council members, New York also has a citywide committee that participates in this PB process. This committee is made up of individuals, community organizations, and city council members. This committee is meant to guide the process of PB in New York. New Yorkers for Parks is actually a part of this committee, and anyone can join. As you see on the screen here, this is some info about how you can get involved and be part of the citywide committee. At the end of the the committee also works on creating the rule book, which is linked down here. And these rules are the rules for PB for the cycle, and they're adopted by the city council. At the end of each PB vote cycle, the committee will reflect on these rules and how effective they were, and they may change and update them as needed. The rule book is kept online on the city council's page. And like I said, this link down here, council.nyc.gov/PB, can be used to access it.
Now we've talked about PB as a whole and the framework of PB in NYC. We're going to talk about the PB cycle. And just to make a note, we're referring here to the process in general, but each district has some ability to do things slightly differently within each cycle. So make sure to be in communication with your council member and PB budget delegates to know what your specific district is doing.
So this picture on the screen is a picture of the whole cycle, and we will refer back to it. But let's talk about the first steps. In New York, the cycle will begin in late summer or early fall, and it ends in spring. And it all starts with community ideas. So to begin this idea collection process, participating districts will host neighborhood assemblies. And here's a picture of what one of those assemblies might look like. A community district usually hosts upwards of 5 to 6 meetings at various locations in each district, and they're aimed to get a broad array of individuals participating in the process. These meetings are hosted by a combination of volunteers and city council members and their staff. And whether or not your district is more volunteer heavy or city council heavy in terms of leadership, both in these meetings and throughout the entire process, just really varies from district to district.
So these meetings serve a number of functions. At the meetings, hosts will explain what PB is, what rules that specific district may have, the difference between capital and expense projects, and PB project eligibility. So today we're not going to get into all the rules about what makes a project eligible, but you can find them in the PB rule book, and there are some stipulations that a project has to meet. Explaining all of these rules and notes at the onset helps narrow down and focus community ideas from the start and separate out non-eligible ideas. Once all these rules have been explained, these ideas are put forward by community members in attendance. PB ideas are also collected through online links. Once they've been submitted, districts receive hard copies of the list of preliminary ideas. There's also an idea collection map, which you'll see on shortly.
So this is just some examples of what it looks like when people are collecting ideas. It can be pretty broad, and the outreach can be really extensive depending on how engaged your community is and how hopefully willing and excited your volunteers are to participate. Here is the idea collection map that Michelle was referring to a minute ago. And in the idea collection map, which you can find at ideas.pbnyc.org/page/about, which is up here. And just so everyone knows, we will be putting all these links on at the end of the screen, at the end of this presentation, excuse me. And also we will put these on our website. So if you didn't catch anything in our presentation or you just want to refer back to it, you'll have that opportunity. So the idea map. During the idea submission time for a specific PB cycle, you can add community improvement ideas to this map, which would be projects that you want to see funded in your district. This map also allows you to see past projects that were funded and suggestions other citizens in your district have. This helpful key on the right, with all its color coding, tells you what type of project is being proposed. Anyone can add an idea to the map. The final date for submissions of ideas will be in the fall, but this exact date changes again yearly, so it's best to just check in with the City Council website, the PBNYC website, or to follow your council members or PBNYC groups on social media. This map also has really helpful guidelines, which are using these buttons over here. They'll tell you how to use the map and when to submit ideas, but they'll also give those guidelines again on what type of projects can be funded. This is invaluable if you are not able to attend the assembly meetings or if you just want to see these rules and guidelines in writing. This map is available in Spanish, which is also great. And it's during this time while ideas are submitted that they're going to be placed into tentative agency buckets, like parks or schools.
So once you've attended a meeting or successfully submitted your ideas to the map, the ideas move to a second step where they're looked at and researched by a budget delegate. And Gabby will talk more about that.
A budget delegate is a volunteer who works with the PB district to help transform community ideas into actual project proposals that eventually end on the PB ballot. There are generally several budget delegates per district. These delegates will form committees and take these community ideas, make sure they're in the correct agency buckets that I mentioned earlier, flesh out the ideas that are too expensive or just not really feasible at the moment. With this new pruned list of ideas, budget delegates will do further research and they may go and do some field visits of the remaining proposals. A field visit might include going to a school and talking to the principal there, or going to a park and looking at the site for a proposed project. Besides on-site visits, or based on these on-site visits, they're able to narrow down this list yet again.
And this narrowed list is then sent through the council member's office to agencies with jurisdiction to review the feasibility of the proposed project. So repairs to a dog run or the installation of adult fitness equipment in a park would be sent to the Parks Department. Again, this can look a little different in your individual district, and the reviews may be done in 1 or 2 stages. Each agency will place a limit on the number of projects they'll accept from each district. So, for example, this year, the Parks Department might only accept 4 to 5 parks project proposals for review from every participating city council district.
Finally, after these various stages of review and evaluating feasibility of these projects, there's a selection of proposals that will be part of the final ballot. It is important to note here that this ballot aims to reflect a variety of project areas like parks, education, improvements to libraries, technology, different amounts of money, and discussions council members, budget delegates, and agencies have had about the proposals. So you won't have a ballot that's only parks projects. The goal is that the ballot and the proposals themselves be a bit more diverse across neighborhoods. And here on the screen, you'll see an example of some things people do for outreach for Vote Week for the ballot, which Michelle is going to introduce us to.
Thanks. So once these projects are on a final ballot, they're put back to the community for action in the form of Vote Week. The ballots are available in English and Spanish, and in some communities, they also have them printed in additional languages too. Some districts, you may notice, will do a pre-Vote Week expo where projects are explained and outreach is done, but this is optional and again may vary by community district. Vote Week itself generally lasts about 8 days and consists of a mix of pre-planned and pop-up voting places. There's also an option to vote online, and you'll see that's the link at the bottom of your screen in the bottom right. And your council member's office, you can also vote there. Community members have the chance to vote for up to 5 projects. In order to vote, community members only need to live in the district. They don't need to register or have an ID. And this spring, any and all members of the community over the age of 11, and that was the first year the voting age was lowered to this age, so that's exciting, are welcome to come vote on these various projects in their district.
Much like the date for idea submission, the dates for Vote Weeks change yearly. So it's best to check online as to when exactly this will be. Right now on the screen, we have the current vote cycle information pulled up. But again, this changes yearly, so always check in. This current cycle, which is 2017 to 2018, Vote Week is April 7th to April 15th, which is literally right around the corner. So if you do live in a district that is participating, we really encourage you to get out there and vote. If you want to vote but don't know where or when, you can check the City Council website, which is again the website on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, council.nyc.gov/pb/vote-sites. For locations. And you can also sign up to receive text, which is this number here. If you text PBNYC to 212-676-8384, they'll give you updates about Vote Week. Just a quick note to anyone listening to this webinar after today who's not listening to it live, this webinar is being recorded and it will be available on our YouTube page. So all the information we're giving here is only relevant to spring 2018. Excuse me, not all the information, but all the information pertaining to dates. So if you're listening to this after spring of 2018, please check the City Council and the PB websites to see more current information on dates.
So at the end of vote week, the total votes and costs of the projects are tallied up, and the project or projects with the most votes up to the $1 million or other councilmember allocated funds wins. A councilmember might also see the popularity of a project through the PB process and decide to fund it separately outside of the process with their own discretionary funds.
After the votes are tallied, one or more winning projects are announced, and they'll be added to the City Council district's projects and then adopted into the next fiscal year city budget. It's really important to remember that a winning project may take a number of years to complete. If your project did not win, don't lose heart. You can always submit during the following cycle, and now that you've gone through the process, you'll already know what to expect and be able to get even more folks involved.
So thank you all. That's the full summary of participatory budgeting and PBNYC specifically. We'd also like to point out that the websites www.participatorybudgeting.org and the City Council website on PBNYC that we've referenced throughout the webinar are great resources to help you understand and get involved in PB. And you'll see them on your screen now.
And as I mentioned earlier, when we archive this webinar on YouTube and on our own website, we'll also list these helpful links in the transcript. So if you are rushing to copy them down or you forget them at a later date, you'll always be able to reference them on the New Yorkers for Parks website. Both the two websites Michelle mentioned before, the participatory budgeting website and the City Council website, also have some really interesting videos that are a great way to understand PB and help explain it to others. This is our portion of the webinar. We'd really like to thank you guys so much for participating, and we hope you learned a little something today about PB. We absolutely have some time for questions if anyone has any, but I just want to point out I also have my email here on the screen. It's gcapo@ny4p.org, and you can certainly use that at any time if you think of any questions later. But for now, we do have the chat in our any meeting that you've all been invited to, so please let us know if you have any questions.
So if you're wondering how to submit a question, there should be a side panel on the left, and you click the kind of blue question mark chat, and it would say, ask the presenter a question. And there you can type anything that you have. Before we close out the meeting, we'll wait a little bit longer and see if anyone has questions afterwards.
So Brett asked, when is the next cycle for new ideas beginning? And that'll be in the fall or late summer, early fall of 2018. Thank you, Brett. All right, thank you so much, everyone. It looks like we're not getting any more questions, but again, my email, and I'll pull up that screen again for you all. You can contact me at any time, gcapo@ny4p.org. You can always call the office. We're always happy to chat. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we look forward to participatory budgeting this year's vote week, and hopefully you guys doing it in the future. Thank you.